Within the bedchamber of the burning walls, the wails of a newborn can be heard reverberating off the stone. A few moments pass as the midwife, Malin Farrell, prepares the baby for her adoring and weeping parents. What an event birth is, emotions high, time lost. Malin gently places the newborn baby girl upon Antora's chest, Agril cooing at her softly. Amely, Antora says, she will be brave and diligent, just as her father. Agril kisses them both on the forehead, disregarding Malin as she swiftly leaves the chamber, the dirty clothes and wash bucket in her arms, ever the hard-working midwife. She leaves the new proud and enraptured parents to their daughter, Amely, born with the birthmarks of Kiala upon her face, an obvious sign of her importance to the phoenix of creation. Upon her introduction into society, as the daughter of Agril, Skyblade of Pride, and Antora, Skyblade of Dreams, both avid worshippers of the phoenix of creation, she is lovingly labeled as the child of Kiala, prophesied to be a great leader and warrior for the people of High Griffin Republic, just like her parents. Throughout her 21 years of life, Amely is systematically trained in the world of politics, religion, geography, and the people of Valariya by her tutor, Gandor Brightbeard, an assiduous student keeping a notebook of her many teachings with her at all times to refer back to at a moment's notice. Her mother, Antora, while devoted and loving, often lived away from the burning walls as she was the Skyblade of Dreams and needed in her own province. While she stayed in Blue Horizon, she would visit as often as she could to see her daughter, and they would delight together over their found love of books. Amely and Antora often fawned over the same book together, particularly volumes of heroism and romance, sending letters of their thoughts on each character, love affair, and every other detail. It was their way of bonding when they had to be apart, knowing the other was immersed in the very same story. You could find Amely often in her favorite part of the castle, a nook in the third-floor library dedicated to reading, along with her very good dog, Arfie. Agril, profoundly proud of his daughter, often leaves her to her own devices in Lion's Mane while he attends to his duties along the border of their province of Pride, where the Cerulean campaign wages. Amely would spend her free time outside her consistent classes with her best friend and most trusted confidant, Kerwin, and her younger sister Ciri, the daughters of the local cleric of Kiala, Varys Offstatter. You could find them drinking tea in the back rooms of the church, praying together in the pews, or Care and Ciri watching Amely train in combat on the castle grounds with her melee combat tutor, Thaxton Jathana. Amely met Thaxton at the age of 9, when his father, Oghren, was her combat tutor. Thaxton was 3 years older than her, and Amely instantly took a liking to him. He often attended her melee classes, helping her more as they got older, with Oghren declining in health quicker than anyone expected. When Amely was 15, Oghren passed away in his bed with his family, and Amely surrounding him. From then on, Thax became her permanent tutor, and Amely never had a complaint. He was very pretty to look at. Many in Lion's Mane, including Kerwin and Ciri, would often speak how Amely and Thaxton would make a strong and capable couple, so that is exactly what they did. Thaxton, handsome but not a romantic, would take her on walks to help keep her fit and spend time with her in the library, though he complained of boredom, often. Amely, a lover of romance, had concluded that it was something only found in storybooks. At the age of 16, 1 year after Oghren's death, Antora, Amely's beloved mother, was murdered by fellow Skyblade Hydrona Lilac during an assumed diplomatic meeting at Oceanguard, the castle of Dream Province in Blue Horizon, far away from Amely. Immediately, Hydrona absconded from the High Griffin Republic, all other Dark Elves following suit, joining her in the city they now call Grimden in the North Waste, worshipping Hydrona as the Crescent Queen. This day in history is now called the Night of Fallen Eclipse. After the loss of her mother, Amely distanced herself from Thaxton during her time in the library, these becoming stolen moments in her day where she allowed herself time to grieve. It took her 3 years to pick up another book. At the age of 21, despite the loss of her mother, Amely was thriving. She had a handsome and skilled man by her side, a kind and unwavering comrade in Kerwin, an adorable canine, and wonderful and skilled tutors, chefs, maids, librarians, and more. She had almost everything she had ever wanted. One day, a strange man in heavy black robes lined up to speak before Admiral Seraph, Amely sitting next to him in his throne room at the burning walls during the assembly, a time when commoners and higher-ups alike can enter the throne room to make requests. He spoke of Amely being a false prophet, a bastardization of the gods, claiming her birthmarks to be an outright abomination and deception. The crowd gasping, Agril immediately threatened to kill him if he did not leave at once, scoffing at his claims. And so the man left. But over a few days, it was obvious that some seeds of doubt were sowed within the province of Pride, and Agril asked that Amely have her birthmarks inspected by the highest mages. This felt like a silly request, but of course they would go forward with it for their people. This was so ridiculous, in fact, Agril left for the front lines before Amely's meeting with the high mages. Amely sat before the highest mages in Pride. She sat calmly and thought about what her and Cerwyn might get up to later that same day as they spent most evenings together. Adarellan, Elark, and Myrtle, all high mages at the Pride Society of Magical Advancement, sat before Amely, discussing her birthmarks at first and then moving on to other topics, such as her engagement to Thaxton, how Arfie was doing, and even what the weather was like that day. They went through physical examination, seeing no signs of tampering with her birthmark. Then they moved on to spellwork, and soon discovered that her birthmark was indeed tattoos, inked into her skin so young they look immaculately natural. Myrtle, a teacher and astute wizard in the School of Illusion, soon detected that the markings indeed had illusion magic. Amely began to sweat and worry. Everything was so fine moments ago. This cannot be real. Myrtle cast a spell unknown to Amely and jumped back, grasping at his chest in fear, bellowing, "We have been deceived. This is not the daughter of Kiala. A dark elf sits before us. Quick, bind her." Amely barely had time to think before she grabbed her cloak and ran with only what she had on her. She did not stop until rest was required, making it outside of Lion's Mane and sleeping beneath a canopy of leaves. Exhausted, dirty, and bewildered, she cried herself to sleep that night. The next day, she continued making her way southwest, thinking of what all this could mean. She must have been switched at birth. It has to be work of the Northwaste, the Carmine Fervor Confederation. The midwife, Malin, was never seen again. It was thought she had found work elsewhere or traveled to see family. She must have made the switch. Who was she really? Who was Amely really? Who are her parents? What happened to their true baby? Her parents. How she loved them both. How she believed in everything she was brought up to worship. Kiala, did she really hear her? Or was this some other god's magic flowing through her veins? What did she look like? Does she want the illusion removed? Or should she continue to be an imitation of other sun elves? Her father, when will he know? Cerwyn, Thaxton, everything she had to leave behind. Arfie, her favorite books, the letters from her mother, even her best weapons. She has to keep a good head on her shoulders. This is not her downfall. She will not be a puppet for the Crescent Queen. That will not be her story. With a determined look on her face and her hood up, she travels 2 weeks to Tidewatch. There she will get her bearings. There she will decide what to do next. There she will get a hot meal and find the local newspaper and search for any news on Amely Seraph, the deceiver of Pride.